Welcome to MarTech Connect, a podcast where marketing leaders share insights, stories, and strategies that shape the future of MarTech. Real leaders, real insights.
Identify the gaps, see where your team is either doing a lot of grunt work or see where your team is wasting a lot of time. And if there are tools that can replace that, the same people, because they're talented, will start adding a lot more value to you.
Hi, this is Dhwani Rathod, your host on MarTech Connect. I'm thrilled to have with me the seasoned marketing leader who has been forefront in brand strategy, product storytelling, and innovation across industry. Let's dive deep into the conversation and get to know his journey. Today, I have with me Mr. Siddhant Chawla. Thank you for being a part of MarTech Connect.
Hi, Dhwani. Thanks a lot for having me here today.
Thank you. So, as you're here, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions to know your journey into marketing. Can you share your journey into marketing and what inspired you to take this field?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. My study path and my upbringing was pretty conventional as per Indian standards. So, of course, I did science and then I did engineering. And like any good person, I took the 4 years of engineering to try and figure out what I actually want to do in life. So during our 4th year, a friend of mine who I am now working with at Semporo, he had originally got in touch with me saying, you know what, I've got an idea. There's this magazine, it's going to be called Pictorially Speaking. I want to run it with a bunch of 3-4 enthusiastic people. Do you want to come on board? I said, yes. And we launched it. That time Facebook was all the, big thing. Instagram was still coming up. We launched it, aesthetics, social media marketing, getting some good design in place. And that's where my interest in marketing started, because as and when we continued working on the magazine quarter after quarter, we realized that there's a lot of people, who are showing interest, who are getting in touch with us and who want to know more about what we can do. We actually got a few inbound queries at that point. So that's what I found very interesting. But post that, I did my MBA and I got into pre-sales, which had nothing to do with marketing. And at that point of time, pre-sales as a function, whenever we worked with marketing, the only reason we ever went to marketing was to tell them to make our PPT more beautiful. And that was the general overall assumption कि marketing क्या करता है? Marketing आपका PPT सुंदर बना के आपको वापस देता है. That was all it was, right? And then when I wanted to switch, I was back in Wipro at that point of time in life. When I wanted to switch from pre-sales to marketing, one of our leaders told me, what is marketing? Why do you want to do it so early in life? It's common sense. You just realize when to talk to people, how to talk to people, and you're into it. But I'm glad to say that he was wrong. I got into marketing at Wipro. It was core B2B marketing. It was in the financial sector at that point. We worked with a lot of banks. We did a lot of email marketing. There was a certain amount of LinkedIn platform marketing, and also the softer parts, which people don't realize. We did a lot of marketing during client visits, a lot of OOH branding. Even though it was not out in the city, it was out on our campuses whenever clients came to visit. And I became more and more curious about that. And that's when I made my transition to product marketing, where it was a whole new world. There were so many aspects that got unlocked, there, whether it was performance marketing, whether it was PRs, public press releases, that is, public relations, all of that, and a lot of components of event marketing. So, that's what's been my journey up until now. Now I'm into core performance marketing and web design. But I've learned a lot across the way. I've seen so many different channels. And, I think there's a lot left for me to learn in this sphere of marketing.
Totally agree. That's such a, vast journey you had so far. And it's great to see how passion and curiosity really shaped your path. I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate to it. They always go through their ups and downs, they learn, and then they, come up with what they want to do. Correct?
Right.
It's good to hear that you have found your path. Following to my next question, how do you measure the success of marketing campaigns?
So let me give you an example. Let me just start with something. a lot of people originally used to measure marketing campaigns, and even now I've seen them in my teams, in my reportees, when people are scrambling to show success. A lot of these things, which we call vanity metrics, come up. The impressions, the reach of your ads, the number of people who maybe clicked on something. But honestly, I don't think in today's day and age, with the sort of personalization and specificity that we're looking at, that it matters. See, I see luxury real estate plots, 10 crores and up. Unfortunately, I cannot buy any of them. I am not the right target segment. I don't have that sort of money. But if someone has to report, I still come in their reach and impressions, don't I? Even if I click to get code just to see how much a luxury plot costs, finally my click is getting recorded. And when someone has to report that, they say, oh, you know what? 10,000 people clicked on our ad. Out of the 10,000 people, I'm sure 9,000 people are like me, who are never going to become paying customers, at least not in the near future.
Just for curiosity or knowledge.
Yeah, it's just for curiosity, it's for knowledge, So it's basically an outcome of the way people are being targeted on social media. You see all sorts of ads, and there's always a slight leakage. So the ad goes outside the addressable market after a certain point of time. Similarly, when I did a lot of event marketing, in my previous role, the more number of people who walked into a stall, the happier everyone was. Saying, over a period of the last 4 days, 550 people walked into a stall. Out of the 550 people, I'm sure 200 people used to walk in because we had a free coffee machine. They used to come in the morning, they used to have some coffee. In the evenings, you give out popcorn. It's a way to attract audiences, of course. And so I'm glad people come and the stall looks busy. But you can't say that these 550 people are a metric of success for the marketing you've done. It has to be much, much better. So coming to B2B marketing, for example, say I start with something as simple as a channel, which is email marketing or lead magnets through your email marketing, right? The relevance of the audiences who open my email, as well as the repeat interactions of the same audiences, what is important. And I'll follow that up with an example. So when I was marketing in my previous role, we had a product called Clear AI. Okay. And we were marketing to a number of media and production houses. Right. So there was this one person, he was based out of Prague. This person was repeatedly interacting with our emails, opening everything, downloading a number of lead magnets, finally gave in a query, and then turned into a prospect, sales qualified lead, and became an active conversation. That is what I'd count as a success.
Correct.
Right. So when I say B2B, the number of qualified leads are important. That's great. The number of MQLs to SQLs, even better. But what I would finally say is the best measurement is your pipeline impact. What is the pipeline that marketing has been able to generate? And this comes after due diligence with all the departments that take care of that pipeline. Whether you're talking to sales ops, revenue ops, the salespeople, all of that should be consolidated. And it's only when marketing is seen as a revenue enabler, when marketing is seen as a pipeline contributor, that I would say that you're having success in the KPIs that you're measuring for this team.
And I feel this is the big blockage right now in the industries.
Absolutely. Because sometimes what happens, something as simple as, when you follow up with salespeople and ask them what happened to the lead we passed on, they're not very transparent. And sometimes it's because they feel, their share of credit will go away. Something as simple as that. Or sometimes in itself, what marketing focuses more on is the bigger numbers. I might have had only 2 or 4 qualified leads in the last month, but I might have had, like I said, 500 people walking into my event. So I'll want to showcase 500 first. But what is important to understand is that out of those 2 to 4 qualified leads and active conversations in a B2B enterprise setup, that could be millions in pipeline revenue that you're missing out on if you don't follow up with that diligently.
Totally.
So that is something I feel as marketers, we all should double down on and keep looking at.
That makes a lot of sense, especially the focus on measurable impacts and, staying agile. It's always interesting how to see different teams can work together.
Absolutely.
And I would also like to know, how do you collaborate with other teams like sales and product, or all the other departments? Because as you said that they will not give that much of weightage to the campaign which you will send, a lead you will send. So how do you make the balance for that?
Right. So we can take it team by team. So I'll come to sales first, because sales versus marketing has is a story as old as time. Okay. You'll have marketing wanting to go in a certain direction. You'll have salespeople saying, no, this is absolutely not going to work for us. But I think once again, that's slightly a myth. You can buzz that. You can work past that and work well with salespeople. But what is important to realize is at the end of the day, you all are working towards the same goal. See, at the end of the day, you want to generate revenue for the organization, right? And everyone has to be able to fit like pieces of a puzzle while working together. So when it comes to sales, for example, one thing that really helps is for us to be able to educate sales on exactly what it is and why it is that we are doing a certain thing. Why is a certain campaign running? If it's a promotional offer, why is it running? Or in the B2B world, why is a certain theme running for a quarter? Where has this theme come from? Yeah. And the second part is listening to them, because what happens is often you're running a theme, but a salesperson is having a conversation on an entirely different deliverable altogether. They are also selling something which your organization sells. It's just that the campaign of the quarter is not reflecting that. And that is what causes frustration. When sales does not have the material, collateral, or follow-up to give to their clients to maintain an active conversation. See, there's only so many times I can keep calling you and talking to you, understanding what's going on in your life, being casual. But what sales really needs is a means to add value to the conversations that they're having with their clients. And this is where something else that marketing often overlooks, which is sales collateral, comes into place. People find it boring, right? Why should we keep writing, developing case studies? Why should we write and develop lead magnets? Kitna hi karenge? We do this. No, we want to run the campaigns. We want to do the fancy stuff. But we developed, for example, a ROI calculator to show people how much storage they save if they use a media solution of ours. Or in our current company, we've developed an Amazon calculator for early stage D2C brands who want to onboard into Amazon, but they're not very sure as to whether it's a beneficial process or not. Now, developing these magnets took time, but once they were developed, getting them into conversations, giving them to your sales leads, your sales managers, becomes something which becomes a value add for them when they can show it. So these are the sort of things that you need to do to work with sales. You need to listen to what their pain points are. You need to show that you're not a menace. We are not here to take your bonus if you meet your quarterly targets. All we're here to do is to enable you in the right way to sell to your customers. Similarly, this is customer facing. Now you go to product, which is, back end. What happens with product teams usually is they have a roadmap and they're like, we're going to stick to this roadmap. But oftentimes what ends up happening is that roadmap does not reflect the market scenario. So when you're talking to sales, when you're having these conversations with them, you get a lot of valuable feedback, which if you can then go and pass on to the product teams, it sort of becomes like you are a bridge between sales and product.
Absolutely.
You're basically, you're taking out the frustration between them, where sales is like, I wanted feature A and product is developing feature F. So it makes absolutely no sense. They don't talk to each other, but that's where marketing comes in. That's where marketing can be the bridge. I attend product demos, use the product. When I used to go back to my product team and say XYZ is not working, they used to be so happy because they're like, what? There are people outside our team using our product within this company. And they are coming to us with feedback saying, hey, I uploaded an asset and this product of yours is not working. That means you've used my product. I'm being seen, I'm being heard throughout the company. And that made them feel better. So become an alpha tester for your product teams. If they come to you with something and say, hey, we've developed a new product, tell them, okay, guys, give me 48 hours. Let me go through this. Let me come back and tell you what's working, what's not. They're happy to hear you. They don't mind being criticized. What they don't like is the fact that without even trying the product, you have done some campaign and you're telling them leads are not coming because your product is useless. So that's not how it works, right? You need to be able to show to them that you're equally invested in what they're developing. And that's when they start listening to you. And then, this is sales, this is product. You have many other such teams. Listen to people, talk to them, I think is very important. This is where marketers with soft skills come into play. Soft skills is very, very underrated. If I have someone who's a good designer or I have someone who can run brilliant meta advertisements, people will run after them. But soft skills, I think, very, very underrated. Ask for feedback. When you're developing a marketing strategy, we should sit with pre-sales. We should sit with sales. We should ask for feedback. And because we used to ask for feedback, they used to get invested into the campaign. And when we used to say, oh, it's live, why don't you go ahead and share this to your customers? They used to say, of course, I have given you the feedback. You've taken my feedback and you've incorporated it into your campaign. It's definitely going to be a success, because they feel personally invested in what you're working on. And that actually helped with better disbursement of the marketing campaign throughout our organization as well.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And what I could get from all the points you have said, first is sales team should not directly jump into getting a revenue, but instead build a personal connect.
Yeah,
Correct. Adding brand value.
absolutely.
And apart from that, there should be a proper coordination between all the departments, right from the makers till the sales, so that everybody is following the same story.
Exactly.
The
And while
brand
you
value.
can't make them talk to each other, you can be the bridge between them.
Correct. And apart from that, of course, feedbacks, tweaks are very important. Once you give a feedback, then it can be worked around, and that, you know, we can work on getting a better outcome.
Absolutely. Yes.
Nice. I really love the way you think on these points. I hope people would get this very soon so that it can be implemented and the campaigning, even the journeys would be smoother.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad that I'm lucky to have had some wonderful mentors, who've exposed me to these concepts, that and now I can take them forward.
Wow, lovely. So, how do you decide which new tools or technology to adapt from your team? Right now, the market is so vast with
Right.
AI engines, different type of products you're getting. How do you classify which one is best for you as well as for your team?
Right. Okay. Like you said, I'm gonna pick from where you left off. The market is exploding right now. There is an AI tool. Actually, there are 10 AI tools for every function when it comes to marketing. If I want demand gen, I have 10 tools. If I want design, I have 10 tools. The way we choose tools within our teams is mainly, first, you have to be able to identify the right sort of gaps that exist. Now, say for example, I've got two designers, I've got a copywriter, I've got a couple of performance marketing guys, an email marketing person, and a product marketing person. I have to try and see what is the workload that my team is taking up and where is the time being spent. Now, like I said, my original point where I said that when I was in Wipro pre-sales, used to come to marketing saying, you guys are just good enough to make PPTs look beautiful. Now, Wipro being an organization as big as it is, marketing used to get at least 5 to 6 PPTs every single day, all of them with a 24-hour turnaround time. Right? So now the problem over there is a problem of bandwidth. You might have the best designers in the world, but the two problems is, one, they will never be able to complete work on time. And secondly, they will be stuck in a rut doing the same thing, which is slide beautification.
Which will block creativity.
It'll absolutely block creativity. It's a factory model. That's not what you want your team to be getting into, right? So that is, for example, a blocker that we identified. And we felt that, okay, you can use tools over here. Is there a tool that can give me at least a first draft? Once I put in a raw version of a PowerPoint, can it give me a first draft? It should be following brand guidelines. It should do a basic spell check. It should make sure that there is nothing that is going outside the dimensions of a slide. And then my design team can come and do the last 20 minutes of work on it instead of doing 2.5 hours of work on each and every single presentation.
Correct.
Or for example, the thing is, we wanted to be able to generate a certain number of databases, leads and all in a certain direction. At that point of time, we were already using a tool. So our marketing ops team was able to get me the leads and get it on time. But the problem that happened was that tool was shared across the organization, license got cancelled. So while we had the marketing ops team, while they used to use various scraping mechanisms, the problem was the team is good, but they are not enabled in the right way. So we went for budgets. We went for a tool like an Apollo, and we said, okay, you know what? Why don't we get it for our team? It comes with a few AI features. We'll use it. The similar example is true in what to discard as well. We had a tool called Scripted. Brilliant tool. I have nothing against the Scripted guys. It's a copywriting tool. It's got keywords. It's got search features. It's got everything. But the amount we were paying for it versus the amount of content being generated per month was nowhere near close. So what happened is, when you have to go and look at the marketing P&L, you realize that, oh, you know what? Scripted as a tool is taking out a lot of money. and I am not getting enough ROI for the money I'm paying these guys. So instead of using a well-rounded, huge enterprise AI tool, why don't I take a simpler tool for copywriting, something as simple, and a few people might get offended, but something as simple as a GPT Pro plan, which is $20 a month versus the 2000 I was paying scripted, reduce my marketing spend by over 90%. But because I have a good copywriter in the team, between the pro plan and the copywriter, I can make sure that the sort of content that I want to generate on a monthly basis is happening. So the tools, while they exist, I don't think there should be a race to build the most automated or the most efficient tech stack when it comes to marketing. Identify the gaps, see where your team is either doing a lot of grunt work or see where your team is wasting a lot of time. And if there are tools that can replace that, the same people, because they're talented, will start adding a lot more value to you. So now these designers, instead of designing PPTs, were adding value by designing brand campaigns, by ensuring my OOH advertising during events was brilliant.
Lovely. I like your thought where AI is just a supporting engine for every human being. It can make your work more efficient, and you can work like how the people are saying. AI can work for you like a partner, and it can reduce your timeline. What work used to take, like you said, a complete 24 hours. Now it has been cut down to 20 to 30 minutes because of AI. So it can work like a
Absolutely.
supporting engine, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I like the idea where you as a marketer has to find out these problems and find a solution which is right for your uh, company and organization, where the money is getting, where we can save the money and where to rightly place the money and use the right set of tools, right?
Yeah, use the right set of tools. And one point actually, which I missed mentioning, you also take your tools based on where your organization is in its journey. Now, going back to the organizations I work for, something as mature as a Wipro, they are absolutely, they've gone through all the cycles. They've grown to a big organization. So they can even go and invest in the more expensive enterprise solutions that are there in the market today, because what they need is a larger transformation. But the second company I work for, the current company I work for, they're relatively smaller organizations. You might not need the entire tech stack a giant like Wipro uses. Good to have, yes, of course. But you realize that your problems can be solved with a much leaner tech stack. And you should invest in tools only when the time is right, not because everyone else is investing in it.
Absolutely. To understand your market first, your requirement, and go for the tool according to your requirements.
Absolutely, yes.
Makes sense. Lovely. I love the way you think on this. And for my final question, of course, what are some key skills every marketer should develop to succeed in today's fast-pacing space?
Right. So while I do have 3 to 4 skills in my head, and of course they are related to marketing, the first two are not at all related to marketing. The first skill I feel every marketer should develop, and this is something I've learned the hard way, is a good amount of industry and domain knowledge. You should be able to skill in the industry or the domain that you're working in, because you can be effective at communicating with customers only if you know and speak the language that they do. And I learned this the hard way. I started marketing in the BFSI sector. I found the BFSI sector a little boring, I'll be honest. So in the start, when I used to come up with comms, whether it was email, whether it was a PR, whether it was a campaign, there was always something a little off, is what I used to get in response to my reviews. And I never understood what was off. I thought my language was great. I thought I have a very good command over English. I'm fluent, and the campaigns are in English. So what's the problem? The problem wasn't language. The problem was knowledge. And this is what I tried to rectify in my second role. When I came into media and entertainment, I spent a lot of time reading about the industry, the various articles that come up, the latest news about people, and you start speaking in the language that your customers speak in. You start using the terms that they use, and they can relate to you better. So I would say first, industry and domain knowledge is very important. Second, something that a marketer should have, and I mentioned this, just a while back in one of the questions, is a set of soft skills. Once again, I feel they're very, very underrated. But when you work in marketing, what you have to realize is, if you're working in B2B, not B2C, if you're working in B2B, marketing is not a revenue generation team, not directly, right? Yes, your campaigns help. Yes, your events help. But it's not as if you can attribute your campaign to 2 million in pipeline or 10 million in pipeline. It has an influence over it. So because you're not revenue generating, what happens is a lot of questions get asked and they frustrate marketers like us. Usually we end up trying to defend ourselves or trying to explain things to people about marketing when they're not interested. They're not domain guys. They don't want to understand about marketing. Have the soft skills, the patience, the way to bring your point across, the ability to communicate and coordinate between various teams, and you'll see that your job becomes much, much easier.
Correct.
So that would be, the second thing. But yes, of course, in addition to these, when it comes to marketing, there has to be a set of skills that people in today's day and age should have. I definitely feel with AI coming up, you need to be an expert in some areas of it, but it has to be applied AI. You can't say I'm a very good prompt engineer and say, oh, you know what, I have mastered AI. That's not how it happens. When you are working in a certain area of marketing, say you're working in content, for example, you're head of content. We had created a flow where we basically used GPT, of course, to come up with the first draft. We used an app called Hemingway, which has been there in the market and now has improved, which improves the readability. It doesn't say, I'm going to change what you're writing. It just improves the readability, uses shorter sentences, easier words to get your points across. We use basic word for grammar check. And then we have the final layer of human review, where my domain knowledge comes into play, where I see if it is customer speak or not, right? And of course, my articles, my PRs, my case studies, all of them got developed in record time. But this is applied AI. I need to understand what parts of AI I want to use. I wanted to use Hemingway, so I ensured I'm good at that tool. I wanted to use GPT Pro, so I ensured that I took a basic course, understood the best way to do prompting, understood the best way to define my brand tone of voice within GPT so that all my projects come out in a standard fashion.
Makes sense.
And if you are in B2B, as I said, marketing needs to be a revenue generator. So please learn either one of the tools, whatever department you might be part of. If you're part of ops, please ensure you're skilled on any one of the CRMs in the market, whether it's a HubSpot, whether it's a Zoho, ensure you learn that. Ensure you learn email sequencing. It comes with tools like an Apollo. So ensure you know how to generate your contact database, how to feed them into email sequences, how not to look like a spammer or an AI bot when you're reaching out to people. If you're in the performance side of things, I would definitely say your Meta Ads Manager or your Google Suite is something very important. Because and now especially Meta, because they're coming up with an AI only approach, right? They're saying, hey, you know what, you just need to feed your product and you need to feed your goal into us. Our AI will take care of everything else. Easier said than done. I'm sure there'll be multiple iterations, but understanding Meta is really important. It's ubiquitous. It's there everywhere. Understanding Google is very important because you can track people, you can identify segments of your audiences, you can retarget these audiences to ensure you build a higher buyer intent. All of these are important. So based on where you are, whether you're in product, you're in marketing ops, you're in performance, you need to understand the tools in that area and you need to skill on at least 2-3 of them. Because going forward, whatever new tools come will be a version of this only. And if you have the basics, the fundamentals right by learning a few tools early in your career, going forward, one, you will be able to skill to new tools. Secondly, when you have your own team, you'll be able to cross-question them. You'll be able to understand what they're doing wrong and give them inputs. Otherwise, you won't add any value as a leader.
True that. So all the tools you have said, I totally agree to it that skilling is very important. Communication is top most important being a marketer. So all these insights have definitely given us a lot of knowledge. I would like to thank you again, Siddhant, for being a part of this podcast.
My pleasure.
Lovely. For all the viewers, thank you so much for watching today's podcast. I am Dhwani, and we will see you again for the next episode.